Have you ever felt utterly swamped by just the sheer volume of information that hits you every single day?
Oh, absolutely. It's constant.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking endless feeds, viral posts, sound bites designed purely to, grab your attention for a fleeting second.
Yeah, just content.
Exactly, content. It feels like we're constantly bombarded with it. But what if the truly important stuff, the real insights, isn't in what's being shouted the loudest? What if it's in what's being left out?
That's a really interesting thought.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into an incredibly fascinating concept, the cartography of absence. It's this unique approach to craft and understanding from Dr. Jaime Hoerricks and her Substack.
Right.
And our mission really is to explore how tracing these silences, how mapping what's missing, might actually offer a profound shortcut to being truly well-informed.
A shortcut through absence. I like that.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The source material, it opens with such a vivid scene, almost, melancholic, this familiar choreography of a new school year.
You can almost hear it, can't you?
Totally. The bell, the shuffle of shoes down concrete corridors, that kind of weary return to desks. Dr. Hoerricks paints this picture of the ritual of testing.
Students in rows, eyes a bit dulled.
Yeah, just being measured against numbers, benchmarks, and standards.
That have nothing to do with the intricacies of who they are. That's the line that really hit me. And she's there, Dr. Hoerricks, mandated to supervise, but her presence feels, unnecessary.
Just kind of observing the routine.
Right. And as her mind wanders through this monotony, there's this poignant detail. Morrissey's voice cuts through the quiet.
Yeah, singing.
Oh, the devil will find work for idle hands to do. It's such a perfect, almost ironic soundtrack for that scene, isn't it? Kids on Chromebooks.
Mm-hmm. Pressing fingers to keys, producing nothing but data points to feed a machine that seems totally indifferent.
Exactly. It's a powerful image of presence and absence all at once.
Yeah.
Now, contrast that classroom scene with the digital world, specifically Substack, which Dr. Hoerricks describes as a mirror of desires, projections, of the kinds of words that soothe the public into recognition.
Yeah. What gets amplified there, she notes, is not what unsettles, but what reassures. It's about performances of empathy polished into something viral precisely because they do not cut too deep.
Oof. That's sharp. And it leads right into her own approach, which is so different. What's compelling here is her clarity about her own craft. She says her goal is not to echo, not to join the chorus, not to shape my words for virality.
So the opposite of chasing likes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to sit at the edges and listen for the silence beneath the sound. For most people, she says, absence looks like void blank space, nothing there.
Right. Just emptiness.
But for her, it is terrain. It has topography.
Yeah.
It has shape and weight and consequence. So the task, the core task, is not to fill it, but to trace it. She's looking for those hollows, those fractures,
It's such a different way of thinking about it, not filling the space, but outlining it. So if it's not about generating easy content, what's the end game? What does she hope to achieve by just tracing these contours?
Well, the goal, as she puts it, is to give language to what has been refused, to mark the coordinates of what lies invisible but heavy on the soul.
Wow. Heavy on the soul.
Yeah, she's not trying to paper over the cracks, but to map where they are, to make the unseen legible. It's a really active way of reading the world, moving from just taking what's given to figuring out what's missing.
Okay, so if absence is this vital terrain she's mapping, how does she actually do that? How does she navigate it in our, chaotic digital world? She talks about this method, reading as ritual.
Right. That's fascinating.
She explains that for her, scrolling is never only scrolling. For me, it becomes ritual, a kind of divination. Even though the algorithms are pushing stuff at her, these curated fragments,
Yeah.
her gestalt-seeking, pattern-collecting mind reads even that scatter as deliberate, a trace of what the culture desires. She finds a pattern, a story where maybe the rest of us just see noise.
Like reading tea leaves, but with algorithms.
Kind of. And I found it interesting she specifically chose Substack over, as she calls them, other socials. Why do you think that choice is so important for her process, for this reading as ritual?
Well, she sees those other platforms as built for commerce, for spectacle,
Right.
for algorithms tuned to keep us buying or branding ourselves. And that leaves her feeling restless and hollow. Substack, maybe despite its own issues, gives her space to pause.
Okay.
It lets her treat the feed as text, as ethnography. It's a huge difference, isn't it? It's not just what she reads, but how.
Mm.
With this sort of anthropological eye, not just passive consumption.
More deliberate.
And she gives this really sharp example of what not to do. Describes one piece in particular that lingers, something that got thousands of hearts, thousands of shares.
So super viral.
Totally. But for her, its popularity showed not the depth of the author's thought, but the shallowness of the hunger it fed.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was soft recognition without risk. Empathy that affirms rather than unsettles. Basically, comfort food for thought. Language that makes you feel seen, but doesn't question the structures that make invisibility possible in the first place.
So virality in that case was almost a red flag for her.
It seems like it. It signals comfort, familiarity, but maybe not, deep or difficult truth. Broadening that out, she observes what goes viral is not what is most true, but what is most familiar in a softer shape.
Makes sense.
And conversely, what fades are the words too jagged to pass easily from hand to hand, the truths that cut too close to demand applause. So she reads to understand those patterns, what gets rewarded and what gets quietly ignored.
It's almost like she uses the lack of discomfort in viral content as a signal to question it, which it makes you think about your own online habits, doesn't it?
For sure.
Like when you're scrolling, what catches your eye? Are you looking for what's familiar, what feels good, or are you drawn to things that might actually challenge you, make you think differently?
That's a tough question to ask yourself.
It really is. And this leads us straight into another powerful idea she talks about, contrast as compass. For Dr. Hoerricks, she says, discomfort is often the first sign that I am facing the edge of the map.
The edge of the map.
Yeah. Those things that jar, that make me shift uneasily, or things that feel too polished or too easily praised, those aren't signals to look away.
No.
No, they're invitations to look harder. She literally says this unease is the compass guiding her work.
Wow. Turning discomfort into a navigation tool. Most of us run from that feeling.
Right, so how do you even cultivate that? How do you let unease actually guide you instead of repel you?
Well, it seems to involve a conscious rejection of easy answers. She explains how those viral essays, the really smooth, comforting ones, they actually sharpen the outline of my own refusal for her.
Ah, so she uses them as a contrast.
Exactly. To define what her own craft isn't. She says, where others resolve, I must stay with contradiction. Where others reassure, I must probe. She actively resists tidying up the ache.
Tidying the ache.
Yeah, tidying it into something that can be easily admired. Instead, she chooses to let the ache remain jagged, unresolved, demanding. So discomfort isn't just a signpost. It's like part of the terrain she insists on exploring.
And this commitment to the deeper, maybe messier, often uncomfortable stuff, it naturally leads her to ask this really crucial question about her audience, about us.
Which is?
Do readers have the stamina to follow me into this longer form, into these recursive spirals of thought that refuse to be neatly tied off?
That's a big question for today, isn't it? Stamina for depth.
Yeah,
it really highlights the kind of consumption our society often pushes. She contrasts the two approaches so clearly. Viral words thrive because they ask for nothing more than a nod, a sigh, a click, quick validation.
Instant gratification.
Right. But her words, she says, demand something else entirely. Time, patience, a willingness to walk through the long corridors of what is missing. It's a totally different kind of engagement.
So the real shortcut she mentioned earlier isn't about speed at all.
No, it seems like it's about investing in a different kind of attention to get to a deeper, maybe more lasting understanding. It definitely makes you consider, well, what kind of stamina do we have as readers, as listeners, for that kind of depth in a world yelling for now, now, now?
That's something to chew on. It's clear that for Dr. Hoerricks, this absence isn't just like a theory. It's tangible. It's a creative force. She even describes how time slips strangely when I'm writing.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, the external clocks tick, but in her mind, time is discontinuous, elastic, and she connects this to her music choices, which I thought was cool. Morrissey fades into Pearl Jam's Yellow Ledbetter.
A classic where nobody knows the words for sure.
Exactly. Then Cocteau Twins, then Jauncey. Songs where the words have never settled into a single version, reflecting that same slipperiness of meaning she finds in her work.
That's a great analogy. And in that kind of space, that creative zone, she says, absence is not lack. It is material. It is clay in my hands.
Clay in her hands.
Yeah. The unspoken, she emphasizes, is heavy. It has shape, weight, consequence. She's not just noticing what's missing. She's actively, sculpting with it.
So turning the void into something tangible.
Pretty much. Turning what seems empty into fertile ground for insight, giving it texture, form.
And she gives these really concrete examples of how she makes absence material, how she presses ink into those hollows, as she puts it. Like when she writes about neurodivergence,
Hmm.
it's about where GLP minds are named clinically but not recognized in literacy, or where autistic temporality is lived but never described. She's pointing out those critical gaps in how we even talk about experience.
Highlighting what's not being seen or said.
Exactly. And when she writes about queerness, it's tracing the fractures between how we live and how the world insists we should. Again, mapping that gap.
The space between lived reality and imposed narratives.
Yes. And when she writes about grief, it's not just personal grief, but the grief of community torn apart by precarity, the grief of students lost in systems that never believed in them.
Wow. That's powerful stuff. She clarifies, doesn't she, that to write them is not to invent, but to recognize.
To press ink into the hollows where others will not look. Yeah. It's this deliberate act of giving form to what's been overlooked or maybe even erased. She says she's stepping into the strange temporality of absence itself, where nothing is stable and yet everything matters.
Articulating the raw material that society often dismisses as, well, nothing.
Which brings us towards the enduring power of this unseen work. She uses this amazing quote from Elizabeth Moon's The Speed of Dark.
Oh, I love that book. What's the quote?
Everyone marvels at the speed of light, yet few stop to notice that darkness must be faster, for it is always there waiting when light arrives. She calls this a touchstone for her work.
That's fantastic. Darkness is the antecedent.
Right. The public chases the quick glint of recognition, the light, but her work dwells in that darkness, mapping it not as void, but as terrain, as truth.
And that's crucial. She's very clear. I don't write what the public wants. The public wants to be comforted, reassured.
They want the easy light.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Instead, she writes, what the public needs but cannot yet ask for. The truth still too sharp to carry easily, the contradictions too jagged to go viral, which means, refusing the easy seduction of dilution.
So keeping it raw.
Yeah, leaving the work unpolished, allowing it to cut, allowing it to remain unresolved. It's a kind of defiant act of integrity.
Definitely.
And she clarifies her meaning of darkness, too, which is important. It's not darkness as it has been corrupted by centuries of organized religion, but darkness in the older sense, the Gaelic sense, in which the day does not begin with the sunrise, but with the setting of the sun.
Ah, okay. The fertile ground.
Exactly. The fertile ground out of which light emerges, the necessary antecedent. Her words are like the dusk that comes before it, quiet, unhurried. The value isn't in mass appeal right now, but in maybe serving a deeper need later.
And this commitment to the unhurried, the unresolved, it leads to another fascinating part of her craft. She finds herself circling him back to old essays, rewriting, reweaving.
Revisiting her own work.
Yeah, discovering that stuff she thought was finished still has more to teach me. So it's like the work itself evolves with her. It's not static.
That makes sense. It speaks to that recursivity and retrocausality. She mentions the idea that meaning isn't fixed. It can deepen or shift over time for her and for the reader.
It's not just a one-and-done creation.
No, it's like a living document, almost.
And the joy she finds in this is really profound. She describes imagining a stranger finding, through the indifferent mechanics of Google, an article I wrote in 2022 or 2023.
Okay.
They write to tell me it was the very answer they needed, now, in 2025. Isn't that amazing? That's how words leap across years to do their work.
Wow. That's incredible.
How what was overlooked in the moment becomes life-giving later.
So that raises the question then.
Yeah.
What really matters in the long run? She seems to reinforce this idea that not everything needs to go viral.
Thank goodness.
Right. Some truths are not built for quick circulation, but they echo, they endure, they live in the minds of those who encounter them, quietly reshaping thought, quietly demanding return.
So the real impact isn't clicks, it's that lasting resonance.
Exactly. Quietly reshaping understanding over time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we come back, like Dr. Hoerricks does, to that image of the cartographer.
But not the usual kind.
No, not the one charts rivers or trade routes, not the one whose maps end up in official places, but the one who keeps to the edges, walking in twilight, tracing what others overlook. It's work that's quiet, sometimes thankless, often unseen.
And that connects to her own anecdote, doesn't it? When a colleague asked how she could analyze a new student's records with such precision and figure out remedies for someone she hadn't even met yet.
Yeah, how does she do that?
Her unspoken answer was clear. I'm a cartographer. I read not just what is written, but what is missing. She sees the absences as clearly as the marks on the page.
Oh.
And from that, a map begins to form, not requested, not official, but true enough to help someone find their way. It really underlines the practical and deeply human side of this whole approach.
That really is the essence of this cartography of absence, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not a map many ask for. It will not go viral,
Correct.
but it will wait like darkness before dawn, like stars gathering overhead until the moment someone needs it. It's this powerful, quiet act of finding your bearings in a really noisy world.
A different kind of navigation.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about as you go about your day. What silences are you noticing in the news and conversations online? And how might tracing those absences lead you to a different, maybe deeper understanding of the world or even of yourself?